Hello everyone, and you're watching Bitcoin Bubble news channel. This is the only picture you need to see how the price of Bitcoin has changed during this bull market. We are going to talk about the different stages that we see over time and in history. We will also talk about the parabolic stages that happen after the halves. During and after the halving event, there are often a lot of different stages. We will also talk about how long these phases last. And all we have to do is go with the flow and enjoy these stages to get the most out of this market boom. If you want to see more movies like this, then subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about the one picture you need to make the most of this Bitcoin bull market. Don't forget to like this video if you want to see more like it. When this diagonal resistance breaks during a macro decline, a new bull market starts. And the bull market lasts for a certain amount of time before it is cut in half. But then we move on to a return before harvesting. For a long time, this has been the case over and over again, vertical resistance going down. We finally break out from this diagonal resistance at the bottom of the bear market, stopping the downtrend. We then rally into the halving and then see price action that either stays the same or goes backwards. The same thing happens here. There is a diagonal macro decline and we break out as we go into the halving. Then there is a sideways or pulling back return in and around the halving that lasts for several months after the halving. And the thing about this picture is that when it comes to the halving, we tend to see the opposite happen. We usually see the bottom of a bear market before the half. After the split, if we just jump ahead about 550 days, we'll see the top of the bull market. We see the bottom of the bear market 550 days before the split. It usually takes about the same amount of time for a bull market top to happen. There was also price change for 518 days after the 2016 decrease. In terms of a bear market bottom, that's a little shorter than what we saw before the half. We can still do the same thing here though. We saw a bear market bottom 518 days before the halving, and then if we do this again, the halving is really acting as a mirror, and we see a bull market peak 550 days after the halving. If these patterns continue, we will see a bear market bottom 517 days before the halving, and then a bull market peak 550 days after the halving. We saw the bottom of the bear market 550 days before the halving. This means that the bull market peak will happen 518 days after the halving. That's 517 days after the halving. If we see a bull market peak 550 days after the halving, that would be September or October 2025. This mirror picture is very helpful because it shows us that this is the only chart we need. Don't worry about the downside volatility that might happen during or near this halving time. Once the market has been cut in half, it tends to go down either by pulling back or staying the same. It looks like prices are settling sideways, but there is also a retracement part to it. But we will turn around and go up at some point. And that time is almost here, since the price has broken through to new highs 160 days after the half. And these are the stages we need to pay attention to. Before the halving event, we saw the pre-halving trailing rising phase. That happened a lot before the 2016, 2020, and 2024 halvings because the rise before a halving leads to a halving retrace. Okay, this return happens before the halving, but it can last into the time after the halving, as it has here. In 2020, we saw that this pre-halving return was still going strong. It actually made the move to unification possible. You can also see that this retrace hit really amazing lows in 2016 after the halving, but then it went back up. Mostly though, we are in the reaccumulation phase right now. So this red box shows where we are going back, mostly moving sideways, and will stay that way for up to 160 days after the half. Price would then move into the parabolic phase of the cycle at that point in the past, because after reaccumulation we see post-halving parabolic rise. The price goes up in a parabola after the halving. 160 days after the halving, the price breaks out of the reaccumulation range. Even though the returns in these parabolic phases get smaller over time, they tend to happen after price breaks out of the reaccumulation phase. Now that September is over and Q4 of 2024 has begun, we're on the verge of a breakout into the parabolic phase. This curve phase usually lasts a certain amount of time. You can see that this is about the same time every cycle. If we just do this and compare it to this, we know that the reaccumulation phase lasts 160 days after the halving, and that the bull market peak happens 550 days after the halving. This means that the parabolic phase should last 390 to 400 days. It will take about a year of steep growth to reach the peak of the bull market. And if that keeps up, the peak of the Bitcoin bull market would happen between the middle of September and the middle of September and the middle of October 2025. This reunion phase is slowly coming to an end now that it's been 150 days since it was cut in half. Breakouts have always happened 160 days after the half. This puts us in the parabolic phase of the cycle, which means we're getting close to a time that lasts a year or even a little longer before we finally see a bull market peak. That's been the case in every cycle so far, and it's something we need to keep in mind going forward. There will be a bull market peak at some point, and then we'll go into a year-long bear market. If we do the same thing here during a year-long bear market, you can see that we have a bear market top again. So it's all about cycles, and these cycles repeat. The parabolic phase of the cycle lasts 1 year and the bear market lasts 1 year. From the time the market was split in half to its peak, 550 days have passed. It takes 500 days for the bear market to bottom before the haircut. In general, we see copy and paste events happen about once every cycle. Bitcoin cycles do a lot of echoing and coming back. You can get the most out of Bitcoin as long as you know about these processes. Bubble moving forward. Join the channel to see more videos like this.